fat, sweeteners, carbohydrates. We hear these words all the time, but do you know what they really mean? We're talking about myths in nutrition today on In the Know. Hello and welcome to In the Know. I'm Julia Supa. We're talking today about myths in nutrition, and I'm happy to welcome registered holistic nutritionist Jason Spielberg to the show. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here today.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to talk today about fat, carbs, and sugars or sweeteners.
Right.
So many misconceptions. We as citizens are bombarded every single day with messaging and mixed messaging and what to eat and what not to eat and what's good for you, what's bad for you. And it's so overwhelming. It
is absolutely overwhelming. I mean, even when you choose some of the healthier ingredients, it's hard to find the right ingredient for the right method. What you're doing, if you're cooking, it's one thing. If you're drizzling, it's another. And we've been bombarded for years, and the medical system and the general populace has been led to believe that things like saturated fats are not good for us, and that we should stay away from natural fats like butter and coconut oil. But there's been a whole onslaught of diseases that are being caused by not eating enough fats. I mean, our brain's single source of fuel is saturated fat. And we've cut saturated fats out of our diets, and look what's happened. We have more Alzheimer's than ever. We have behavioral issues, ADHD, anxiety, panic, and this kind of correlates with saturated fats being taken out of our diets. Not to mention, we've been told not to eat fats at all.
Right.
Yet we're fatter than ever.
You know, it's so funny. I've been hosting this show for probably 7 years, and we've had many, many nutritionists, and I know a lot compared to an ordinary person when it comes to nutrition. And I will still go to the grocery store, and I see fat, no fat. And I'm like, which one should I take? Because there's just something about, I don't know, it's something in your brain. You're like, no fat must be better, so I'm going to go with the no fat because we've been trained or brainwashed maybe to think that fat is bad.
Yet it's taken us to this point now where we're just not healthy, and we're avoiding all the things. We're doing everything we're being told to do, yet there's been more problems arising than ever before. I mean, we've been told for years to stop eating butter and to replace it with margarine, which is an overly processed, unhealthy, practically melted buttons. We should not be eating
plastic.
It basically, and it's not giving us any nutritional value whatsoever. Not to mention, it becomes rancid in our bodies after certain temperatures. It's genetically modified, so it's been sprayed with all kinds of chemicals that we're ingesting. These farmers who are spraying these GMO crops are actually covered in hazmat suits, yet we're ingesting this food directly thinking we're doing the right thing. And we see fat versus non-fat. This is my rule. If it says fat-free or sugar-free, chances are it's laden with chemicals to make up for all that fat and sugar being gone.
Okay, so we've got some examples of some good fats, and you were telling me earlier that we want to bring saturated fat back into our bodies? Why?
Well, first of all, our bodies know what to do with saturated fat. Most saturated fats come from animals, although there are some that come from plant bases like coconut oil. Coconut oil is very, very popular right now, and for good reason. Not only is it healthy for our bodies, it fuels our brains because that's what saturated fats do, but it can also be used on all parts of our body. In our gym bag, we can use it in the kitchen cupboard, in the bathrooms, to cover up mosquito bites. I mean, it's
I know people that wash their hair with coconut oil.
My daughter does that. She's got really, really curly hair with some frizz, and a little drop of coconut oil just takes it all down. And she doesn't know the difference. She's 5, but we know the difference.
Yeah.
It's nice and shiny and healthy and beautiful. And, but different oils are supposed to be used for different things. I mean, you watch any cooking show today, and they're drizzling olive oil into a pan, and they're heating it right up, and then they're throwing their food in it. Little did everybody know, we're not supposed to cook with olive oil. Olive oil becomes rancid and unstable after 180 degrees, which isn't very hot. And so in my house, we don't use olive oil for cooking ever. Exclusively coconut oil, and sometimes we use butter occasionally. It's the best non-stick product on the market. And we drizzle with olive oil. So I do love olive oil.
As a finisher.
As a finisher, as an enhancer. Sometimes just a nice, healthy, multi-grain baguette just dipped in olive oil with some Himalayan salt. The kids love it. They can't keep it on the table. We go through liters of the stuff.
So let me ask you about coconut oil, because I have a kind of I'm partial to coconut oil. I like it in certain things, but I don't want everything to taste like coconut, like I've come off the beach, which I wish I was on the beach. So I don't cook with it as much because I don't like my eggs scrambled in coconut oil. I don't want them to taste like coconut.
Of course.
is there an option?
There are options. I mean, there's different processes involved. Of course, cold-pressed organic coconut oil is the best as far as nutritional value goes. But like you said, you don't want your scrambled eggs to taste like coconut oil. So we use different oils, different processes for different applications. There's neutral coconut oil out there. Different levels and different prices and different qualities where there is no smell or flavor, but you're still getting the saturated fat. You're still getting a shelf or a heat-stable oil to be cooking with.
Perfect.
And you don't have to bombard it with the coconut flavoring.
Good, good. That's good to know. I'll get that tip.
Yeah,
So this right over here.
My kids definitely don't like coconut flavored eggs
Right?
either. Yeah.
I know.
Pancakes not so bad.
So this right here, this you told me is called ghee?
Ghee. Yeah, ghee originates in India. Basically, it is, I mean, very basically, it's butter with the fat boiled away. The cream's taken off, and it's used for a separate recipe, for instance, and then just the fat remains. And then that fat itself is a very healthy animal-based saturated fat, and it's rich and it's delicious.
And you can cook with it?
You can absolutely cook with it. You
Okay.
can spread with it. It's very, very rich.
Okay. And let's talk about nuts and seeds, because this is another thing that, everyone's always saying, add nuts and seeds, add nuts and
Right.
seeds, make a trail mix.
Sure.
Add nuts and seeds to your diet.
While 25 years ago they were saying, stay away from nuts, stay away from seeds, it's got too much fat in it.
Right.
Little did we know that it was causing all these different diseases and problems. We need fats. And if you can get them from a whole food, like a raw almond or a cashew or a pepita or a pumpkin seed, that's going to allow all that fat to absorb properly. Plus, you're getting that whole food nutrition.
Are there certain nuts that are better for you than others?
Well, certain nuts have different purposes. For instance, men after 45, 50 years old, I recommend that they eat 2-3 walnuts every single day, as it promotes really good, healthy prostate. Women over 35, I recommend to eat no less and no more than 6 Brazilian nuts every day. Helps manage your hormones. So different nuts have different purposes. Cashews are great if you want to make a vegan Alfredo sauce, for instance. It's creamy, it's tasty, it's got a little sweetness to it, and it breaks down nicely in the blender. So different nuts, different seeds serve different purposes. I give seeds to my kids at school for snack because, of course, all the nut allergies today. And seeds is kind of a way to get those healthy fats and proteins into them and still have that easy access food.
Okay,
I'm a big fan of nuts and seeds.
Yeah, big fan. Okay, we have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about sugars and sweeteners. That's a big one. We could do a whole series on sugars and sweeteners. Don't go anywhere. Myths and nutrition when we come back. Welcome back to In the Know. Sugar, sweetener, aspartame, stevia, xylitol. We can go on and on and on and on. There are so many different types of sweeteners on the market.
We're so obsessed right now with finding a sweet flavor that's going to be good for us. I mean, for years we just had sugar.
Agave, I forgot agave.
Agave, sure, that's another one, of course, of course. But they discovered that sugar was bad for our teeth, it was causing obesity, and it's becoming overprocessed. So what did we get introduced to? Things like aspartame. Now we've discovered that aspartame is linked to different cancers, and it's an aggressor for certain behavioral issues, and it's a completely genetically modified product.
And it tastes gross.
It does. I don't like aspartame at all.
Tastes
Certainly
gross.
not my favorite of sweeteners. So we're starting to catch on. We're coming back to natural sweeteners, but there's so many options. Like you said, there's stevia, agave, honey. What do you use? Why do you want to use one over the other? So, I mean, I've got my personal favorites, of course.
Which is?
My personal favorite is raw, unpasteurized honey.
Okay.
It helps with allergies. It's eating the pollen from the flowers to which we have allergies. And so you're naturally building up your immunity to those. Not to mention, it's raw and unpasteurized, so it's filled with all these beautiful enzymes. And they help you digest your food. They help you heal your gut. And when you have a healthy gut, your whole body is healthy because there is an absolute connection between your gut bacteria and your body and your brain.
Let me ask you about honey, because there are so many different types of honeys on the market, and depending on where you go, if you go to the grocery store or farmer's market or wherever, there's the raw unpasteurized, and then there's like a solid state honey.
Sure. Like
Manuka honeys, creamed honeys. Are they all good?
Well, Manuka honey has its own healing properties, definitely. Sadly, what they've done now is they've pasteurized it all, so it's lost all its natural living enzymes. So it's not as powerful as it used to be. I try to keep it as local as possible, always raw, always unpasteurized. So there's creamed honeys and there's wildflower honey, buckwheat honey.
Buckwheat honey,
I think here today, Ambrosia was nice enough to give us B. Hogan liquid white honey, which is absolutely delicious. But they all have very subtle, different tastes. You know, a wildflower is going to give you a different taste than buckwheat.
Right.
But it's all got these natural healing properties, and that's really what you want to look for. So there's little farms all over Ontario.
Yes.
We go strawberry picking, say in Stouffville, we always pick up some local honey because it's within 20 minutes of where we live, knowing that the bees are creating this honey from the pollen in my vicinity. So it's building up my own immunity to the allergens that may be bothering me.
And it's kind of cool to think that you're eating the honey that was processed right where you live.
Isn't that an amazing
Yeah.
thing? I mean, and we're supporting
Very,
local
very cool.
farmers, too.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, there's also stevia. So people like these little packages. Now, stevia is interesting. You know, sugar is refined to be white. It's not grown white. So now they've done the same thing with all these other sweeteners. We expect them to be white. So stevia is a green leaf from a plant, but they process it until it's this white powder that people can recognize. So I don't have a problem with stevia. I don't personally love it. I find it a little bit of a bitter aftertaste. But if you're going to use stevia, make sure it's green. That green powder means it's simply a dehydrated, blended leaf. It's a whole food. It's got all the healthy stuff that greens, say a greens powder or a lettuce will give you. Plus it's sweet and delicious.
Okay. What about coconut sugar?
Coconut sugar is great. It's got a low glycemic index, so it doesn't spike your blood sugar. It's got that nice, rich, sweet taste. It's going to add flavor to your food. It comes from a natural source. It's virtually unprocessed, and again, it won't spike your blood sugar. So, you know, we're eating less and less sugar, apparently, and we've moved to aspartame, yet people are getting more cases of diabetes than ever. We're getting heavier than ever. So people aren't really sure what to do. They want sweetness. We crave sweetness. We're addicted to sugar, quite frankly. So my suggestion is always just to find a natural form. Maple syrup, for instance, is one of the most versatile sugars in the world. You can turn it into candy, into hard candy, put it in your oatmeal, put it in your coffee. You can cook with it.
Put it in your coffee, really?
Yeah, I personally use honey in my coffee.
Oh, I use coconut sugar.
You use coconut sugar, so there you go. So it's a fantastic choice.
What about the bakers out there?
Yeah.
Because, you know, when it comes to baking, you need your sugar.
Absolutely.
And they're going to say, well, nothing is quite the same as brown sugar or white sugar.
Right.
Is there?
Well, there's different types of sugars that you can use, and of course bakers do have an issue with this. But if you need a plain, simple sugar, then buy a raw cane sugar that's organic.
Oh,
so at least
okay.
you know it hasn't been genetically modified. You know it hasn't been overly processed. It might not be shiny white. It might have a golden color to it. Personally, I don't have a problem with that. If I know I'm eating a real whole food, I don't mind a little golden color. My wife bakes a beautiful challah every Friday for Shabbat dinner with my family. And so she used to use white sugar with white flours, and now she's slowly been introducing other flours and sugars, and nobody's really noticed. And it's delicious, it's much more wholesome, and I don't feel guilty eating that second
That's a good way
third
to
slice.
sneak it in and see if see if the traditionalists notice.
That's another topic for another time. I'm really into sneaking healthy stuff into fun foods.
Okay.
That's how I get my kids to eat them all.
What do you have there on the end? What's that
This,
bag?
if I'm not mistaken, is organic
coconut
palm sugar. Yeah, so this is exactly what you were talking about. Very healthy, very delicious, rich in flavor, very versatile as well. Can melt down into like a butterscotch if you want. It works just the way sugar would, but not quite as sweet.
So talk to me about agave, because a few years ago everyone was on the agave train.
Right.
And then the agave train went backwards, and now it's like no to agave, no to agave.
I'm not so dead against agave. It's still better than white sugar. But if you're going to use a natural syrup as a sweetener, again, go for honey, go for maple syrup. Agave is grown in Arizona.
Right.
We don't have anything to do with Arizona here. We don't have cacti. We don't have that dry weather. So it serves its purpose. If you were living in Arizona, I would suggest eating agave because it serves a purpose. You know, you want to eat as local as possible. And it's not just to protect the environment, it's to protect ourselves. We live in a certain environment. We want to eat the foods from that environment so that we can survive, and more than just survive, live with vitality within that environment. And that happens from living within it, eating within it, becoming part of our environment.
Okay, so really do consume locally, not so much in your subdivision or in your neighborhood, although that's really important, but in your region.
Right. There's a lot of health reasons for it too. I mean, the environmentalists, of course, are promoting it because it's reduction in delivery costs and gas usage. But I really take the nutritional side of view. Why not just eat something that's grown in your region? It makes perfect sense. We have allergies, we have problems, we suffer from migraines. Part of it is because we're not eating foods that are
Grown and created here.
grown and created for us, right? I mean, what business do we have eating seeds that are grown in China? We should be eating stuff that comes from Milton, for instance. You
Okay,
know?
good point. Really good point. Really quickly, we've got a minute left in this segment.
please.
We often talk about the glycemic index. What does that mean for someone at home watching?
The glycemic index basically is a number that accounts for how much that the sugar that you've ingested is going to spike your blood sugar. So when you have spikes and dips in your blood sugar, it causes fatigue. It's dysglycemia. So we've heard of hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. That's actually called dysglycemia. It's just an imbalance of your blood sugars. It leads to type 2 diabetes. So you want to have a lower glycemic load, foods with a lower glycemic index, so that you can slowly raise your blood sugar and slowly let it lower on its own without a crash, without that rush and then that crush that we all know so well.
Nice and level. We have to take a short break. When we come back, we're talking about carbs. I love them. You love them. We're talking about them. Welcome back to In the Know. We are talking all about the myths in nutrition today with Jason Spielberg. For years, I'm 34 and I've heard this for the last at least 20 years.
Right.
We've been told to cut carbs, stop eating bread. Don't do it. Stop eating bread, flour, go gluten-free, go carb-free. Don't do it.
Right. And I just had this conversation with somebody today in the gym locker room. I said, wow, look at you. You look great. What have you been? Oh, I'm not eating carbs. I'm not eating carbs, but I'm so tired all day. So, well, of course you're tired all day. Carbs are our first source of energy. Our body goes to carbohydrates as our first source of energy. Then we move to fat. And then if you don't have enough carbs and fat in your body, it starts eating away at your muscle for energy because your body will do whatever it has to do to survive. So I believe in healthy carbohydrates. It doesn't have to be simple carbs like cookies and things like that. You could have chia and popcorn, which is a whole grain. And people don't realize how much healthy, beneficial nutrition there is in healthy carbohydrates. And you feel energetic and for the whole day, not just a spike. So, for instance, I use chia seeds. I use 1/3 of a cup in my smoothie every single day.
And so these are little chia seeds. And why are chia seeds so good?
There's so many reasons. First of all, it's a complex carbohydrate. It's a complete protein with all the amino acids, and it is a carbohydrate, and it's filled with omega-3 fatty acids. I mean, it's nature's perfect food. And for me, what it does, it gives me the energy I want throughout the day, and just allows me to stabilize that energy. I have a bunch of kids, get them ready for school in the morning, and I go to the gym and I do yoga first thing in the morning, and I have that in my smoothie, and that's what lets me get through to, say, 10:30 when I can have my first wholesome meal.
And so you put it in your smoothie. I eat it straight up, or I sprinkle it on my salads.
Wonderful, yeah.
Because I'm just lazy and it's easy. So flours are another thing that, you go to the supermarket and there's probably, 15, 20 types of flours.
Right, there's been a couple of companies out there that have really done a great job introducing new flours to the market. I love this particular brand, and I love teff flour. That's what I brought here to show you.
This I've never heard of.
I know, a lot of people haven't. It's an amazing, it's actually the smallest whole grain on the entire planet. It's actually the seed of a grass that grows in Ethiopia.
The seed of a grass.
Right. And the seed itself is so small it can barely be ground, that it can't be processed because it's so tiny. All you can really do is grind it up into a powder, at which point you're left with teff flour, filled with protein, filled with omega-3 fatty acids, and it's delicious. It's got a nutty substance. You can make flatbreads with it. You can sneak some into your kids' banana muffins. I mean, really, you can put it into almost anything.
So would you use it in exchange for a wheat flour?
I don't use it exclusively. I tend to mix my flour. So I have all these bags, like you said, there's so many available.
So many different
I throw
types.
some almonds, some coconut, I grind up some oats, and I make my own oat flour, and then I put my teff in there as well, because I like the protein content.
Okay. And if you don't want to grind it up yourself, you can buy it pre-ground.
Yes, you can, yeah. I'm a little crazy. I tend to grind everything on my own.
Okay.
But there's so many other ways to get complex carbohydrates into our body that we thought were not healthy. Popcorn. You go to the movie theater and it's all drizzled in all this yellow butter and God knows what they're making it with. But popcorn is actually a very healthy, insoluble fiber. So it helps you go to the washroom regularly, provides you with some nutrition. It's delicious. It's low in calories. For instance, this popcorn here, I'd love you to taste it. I made it with coconut oil.
All right.
And Mediterranean sea salt.
Ooh,
that's all that's in there. If you want to throw it over the edge, not delicious.
Good. Very good.
That's as good as any popcorn you're going to find at a movie theater.
Good.
Help yourself.
You keep going.
So at home, I like to add nutritional yeast to it. Kids like, I think it's called Smart
So can
Food.
I eat this whole bowl?
I wouldn't suggest you eat the whole bowl of anything. That's still an extreme behavior.
But if I share it with my husband, is that okay?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that'll be fine. We're only looking at about 4 or 5 cups of popcorn there, a couple hundred calories, a little bit of fat, a little bit of healthy salt, and you're fine.
Golden. But
And it'll keep you
realistically,
busy.
you're looking at 1 cup is
Yeah.
what you should be
A cup-
consuming?
2 cups you'll be fine.
Okay.
2 cups is okay.
All right, all right.
You know, again, it's a whole natural food. I don't have a problem. It's going to be very hard to believe, but 40% of my diet is fat. And people would look at me and say, oh, you never eat fat, you never eat carbs. I eat carbs, I eat fat, I eat whole foods. I don't eat egg whites, I eat the egg whole. Because that's what I'm a believer in. I believe in taking on all that nutrition from the whole
But
food.
it's all real food.
It's all real food, as close to its natural form as possible.
All right, okay.
So there's all kinds of great
I'm
stuff
going to
out
put the
there.
popcorn back there, okay.
There's flax seeds, which are very, very healthy
Yeah,
and filled
okay.
with omegas. But I'm going to tell you something about flax. It's very interesting. You have to grind up flax for it to be digestible. Now, if you buy it pre-ground up, interestingly enough, what the industry seems to be doing is extracting the oil from it, selling it as a separate product, right? We all have heard of
Flax
flax
oil.
oil. So now we're having the flax ground and the flax oil. All you need is the flax seed. Grind it up yourself in a little $20 coffee grinder or throw it into your blenders, and it's very easily digestible and works right through you. Sweet potatoes, there's all these great things. I want you to taste something here.
Okay.
Do you mind? Let me first mention how much I love bananas.
Okay, I
eat
love
2 or 3
bananas too.
bananas a day.
A day.
A day. And a lot of people who are on diets are told, don't eat bananas, don't eat eat bananas. Filled with fantastic things like potassium and magnesium and all these great minerals that we need. It's very good for your glycemic index, and it'll keep you healthy and full all day.
And it's so easy. There is no easier snack than a banana.
And they're cheap. You can buy for $1.29 at
Comes with the
Ambrosia. You're
case.
gonna get it comes with a case. It's portable, and they can be frozen. And for $1.29, you get a pound of bananas.
Yeah.
And there's no cheaper food on the market. It's
Okay,
fantastic.
what am I trying? What
Okay,
am
I
I
want you
trying?
to taste one of those power balls.
Okay.
And they're the easiest thing. I'm going to try to do a demo for you in under
Okay.
2 minutes and how easy this is.
Sure, we can do it.
These are no sugar added. There's a little bit of honey.
Can we see that
We've got-
there?
We've got dates, chia seeds, oats, and I think that's all, and some coconut oil. So if you'd like, while you eat that, I'm going to show
Go
you how
for it.
quick
Yeah,
and
yeah.
easy you can do it.
2 minutes. You've got
Now,
it.
I'm going to stand because I can work
Yep,
faster.
go ahead.
So
Yep.
I don't measure. I just kind of experiment. So I'm going to take some unflavored coconut oil for this particular one. I'm just going to drop it into the food processor. I'm going to take some beautiful, raw, unpasteurized honey. I'm going to throw it into the food
at that,
processor.
okay.
I'm going to take, I don't know, a cup and a half of dates, throw it in the food processor. I'm going to take, what is that, about a half a cup of oats? I'm going to throw it in
So
the food processor.
those are pitted dates. They
These
don't
are all-
have pits in them.
Yes, very good. Thanks for mentioning that. Just for fun, we're going to add a little pure cacao into there, which is different than cocoa.
really good.
Another story for another time. And by the way, that's it. So pardon the noise. We're going to turn that on.
Look at that.
It's a little thick in there. So come on, you can do it. And once it's self-blended, there you go. That's all it is. That's all you're left with at the end. A beautiful mix. You can form it into balls. You can put it into bars like I've done here. Throw them in the fridge. You have access to a fully delicious, healthy fat, healthy carb. Everything about this is exactly what you need for your day.
And you know what it tastes like? And it came back to me like a memory. And children of the 80s and the 70s might remember this. Eat more bars.
Precisely what I've been trying
That's
to
an
emulate.
eat more bar.
Right, because you can throw nuts in there as well. You're not allergic to nuts, I hope I should
I'm
have
not
asked ahead
allergic
of
to
time.
nuts. Oh, it's so good. It's really, really
That's
tasty.
delicious. Look how easy that is. We don't need to go to the store and spend $3.99 on a bar necessarily. All you need are some basic ingredients and the willingness to throw something out if it didn't work out perfectly.
Yeah.
Throw it in, mix it up, put it in the fridge. It might just be delicious.
Lovely, delicious. Thank you so much. You've been an awesome guest.
Thanks so much for having me, Joy.
Thank
This has been
you.
great.
I want to direct everyone to Jason's website and Facebook for more information, or you can visit us online at rogerstv.com/intheknow. I'm Julia Supa. We'll see you here next week.
Fantastic.